Hello everybody, happy Tuesday to you all. I hope your week is going well. We'll be getting started pretty shortly, and we actually have updates for some of these lives going forward. Just not sure if it's going to be starting right away or if it'll start off after next week. So Morph Avenue, Mike Duvall, how is it going? It's going okay. Busy day is all. So, and I appreciate that. Thank you for watching the videos. So, Ed from Regis Morphs, tuning in for a couple minutes. It's 2:20 a.m. here. Gotta go at 4:45. Oh, geez. I think you were. I remember you were saying you were in Europe, I believe. So.
I thought they said Germany.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought you said Germany. So. But yeah, so no webcam today. The computer, for whatever reason, has decided to say that it is, I don't know, it just keeps denying it. It's turning on and it just turns it off immediately. So there's nothing physically wrong with the webcam. I don't know. We had to re-sign out and sign into things this weekend, so I suspect it could be because of that, but I don't know. So I didn't want to delay the live anymore, just over seeing me. So yeah, Netherlands. Well, yeah, physically close enough. I'd be very interested to learn about how the ball python community is doing over there, and just the market in general. What's the popular genes and whatnot. I know a little, but not a ton. I know that at least I believe Europe in general is way ahead in Monarch, which is my favorite gene. So I'm very interested in that sort of stuff. Alrighty, I think we're ready to get started here. Let me figure out how to work this without the webcam though. What happens if we click full webcam?
It's just gonna be a blank white page, probably.
Okay, we won't do that. I was just curious. What's going on here? Oh, it's a different order from what I normally do, so it doesn't have the thing up there though, Johnny.
Hmm?
It's not showing the
Oh yeah, it's not. How about that?
Like I said, we had to reset a few things, so I missed one of them, unfortunately.
There we go.
Hey, that's back. Maybe that was why the webcam was gone?
Very unlikely.
Because that's where the element was, so okay. We are doing fine. Monsoon is big. That is same here. Riptide and Monarch as well. I've heard of the Riptide, but I don't know. You know what? Before we get started, since I missed the first one anyway, I'm gonna look that up. I know I've heard of it. Let me see here. Oh, come on. I get immediately put to a Dave Kaufman video about a European facility, so that tells me that it's in there, but I don't want to scrub the whole video right now. Here's a pastel Riptide. ES Morphs. Yeah, I think I just found one actually. Very interesting. Yeah, that just completely explodes the pattern. I shouldn't say explodes it, but messes it up. It's very interesting. A lot of shading in there too. Heck, it makes the pastel look pretty darn good there too. So interesting. I know I heard of it, but I didn't. Can't remember that. So alrighty. Hey, Macamorph. How are you? Catch the replay. Oh, we're just getting started. I got started a little later and we missed one already, so I'm just kind of talking and whatnot. So But yeah, I'll show the first one that I missed just because I thought it was really fascinating. I had no idea where it ended. We wanted to go at 7:15, and then we just had some ever so slight computer issues, and then obviously we just said to heck with the webcam. It's not worth fighting over that. So, but the first one I was going to talk about here, and I guess still am, is this Stranger Confusion Black Pastel Leopard Head Clown Girl. Now, this one I think was going for a good amount. I think it was. I could be wrong here, but I thought it was in the thousands, maybe even 2000s when I looked at it. Shame I can't really see that. I know it was in 4 digits though. I'm pretty darn certain of that. But there's a lot of cool potential here. Obviously there's a lot of power. You can get a visual version of something like this. It's definitely gonna stand out. That's for sure. And it is incredibly dark, and the pattern is just gone. It's weird because the best thing I can describe it as is it's besides being incredibly dark on the head and everything else, you got the dorsal stripe going down there, but then on the sides of it, it's almost like it is a little bit of a monsoon just on the sides alone, and then it just becomes the dorsal stripe. If it wasn't so dark, it would probably contrast a lot more. So, pretty darn cool example. I mean, just to look at just what a Confusion Stranger Con looks like. So this would not be with Black Pastel or Leopard in there. Here you are. You can see a pretty crazy drastic difference. I imagine it would be very different with the Leopard and the Stranger. Stranger's obviously in there. The Leopard and the Black Pastel, in there as well. But it kind of gives you an idea of what one would look like. I believe that the color palette would be a little bit darker, obviously. I think the head might kind of be the same-ish, I guess, because clown heads are pretty darn unique. But the sides, I suspect, would be even more crazy, kind of like how we saw there. And look at that belly, that's cool. Anytime you can get pattern on a belly, again, that's a Confusion gene. It's super good at that. Acid kind of does the same thing, but actually it's the interesting about that is that they said that is not the same gene. Everybody thought it was for the longest time, but yeah, it is indeed different. So very interesting to know about that. But this would have been a cool one to follow. I thought maybe you'd have a bidding war, but I guess not. So alrighty, and then I'm sure you can all see, kind of looking up at the top of the screen here, there's not a whole bunch this week. There's only 5 pages when I started looking at it, so this will probably be a quick one. So alrighty, now into one that still has a little bit of time to go, and it looks absolutely fantastic. That would be this Orange Dream Leopard Chocolate. I click that too soon. Probable cinnamon. Look, that's what I'm assuming they're trying to say by putting it in parentheses there. Visual Hypo Het Desert Ghost male. And this one is basically breeder ready, or it's very close, I should say. And I just want you to see something here, like just with the weight there. About this weight, you're going to start seeing changes in adults from baby to adult, and kind of see what it's really going to look like as an adult, and that's still what it looks like. Keep in mind, this is not a visual Desert Ghost, it's just the hypo. So whenever anybody tells you that hypo wasn't it, they're very wrong. This is amazing. Imagine getting the visual Desert Ghost. That's just going to embolden the colors, like the blacks and everything there, and just make this snake absolutely shine. So very good one at that. Very cool animal. And if you're working the Desert Ghost the Desert Ghost Hypo project, this would be a great one to add. And it's a male. I believe it was, yeah. It is a male, but that's okay. I know everybody always, at least I'm always saying you want visuals, but that is okay, especially in something so packed, quite frankly. It would be a very easy thing to do to run the recesses against each other, right? So get yourself a visual Desert Ghost head hypo, and go to town there. There's probably a lot of stuff you could add to make this even better, quite frankly. This would be a great male for that project, no doubt. Alrighty. Hey Paul, how are you today? Do you think Java and Scrambler are the same gene? I do. Let me look at Java real quick. Scrambler has been good. Was that the one we saw last week that I said looked like Scrambler?
I don't remember.
There was something last week. I just remember saying this looks a lot like Scrambler. I don't remember what it was from. All right. Of course, AI needs to tell me everything it thinks about it. I want to just do images. Images are less helpful, to say the least. Interesting. I don't know enough about Scrambler. Definitely bring in some oranges. The pattern is pretty wonky. If that's just single, they're saying it's incomplete dominant. Okay. Let's look at the Scrambler and just put them side by side, right? And keep in mind as I put them side by side that there is a lot of variation. Now, here's actually something very interesting because it's from the same breeder. Are they the same person who founded this? Marcus Jane. Okay. I'd say that just from this example that they would be different, but you know, the good thing about this is that genetic shed testing will inevitably and eventually prove everything. I mean, like for the longest time, just like I was just mentioning, everybody was just assuming, because they were so darn similar, that acid and confusion, and I think it was static, were all literally the same genetic, right? And they're not. They are not genetically related. I don't even think they're allelic or anything like that. Not that there's any incomplete example of a super of those types. So yeah, it's you know, I'd say just from this picture and the fact that it's from the same breeder, I'd probably say no, but at least that's my thought initially. But that's like I said, that's the cool thing, is that you can always count on genetic testing to uncover all of that. One thing that'd be neat, especially if they're from the same breeder, is if they were allelic. But that would be very interesting. Just the fact that they are from the same breeder and everything like that, that really does add that level to the you know, I'm trying to think of the word to use here. Level of I'm completely lost my train of thought on that one. Whatever, you get the point though. It definitely calls out that if it's from the same breeder, that they, you know, I doubt that they would be the same exactly, but yeah, like I said, genetic shed testing eventually will determine that. Alrighty. Alright, go ahead and move on to a project pairing, and that would be this male lavender, yellow belly lavender, double het clown pied. Oh, I didn't even see the, oh, because it's holy grail. When I first looked at this, I thought it just said grail. That's even better. Anyways, the male is a yellow belly lavender, double het clown pied, and the female is a triple het, so lavender, clown, and pied. And the holy grail is a well, the grail itself is the combination of lavender and clown. And actually, when I first looked this up, I actually looked up a like I said, you can see that I gesundheit, Jenny, that I wanted to show an example of a grail. So this is a grail. This is a lavender clown, and what I really like about them is that the contrast stays. So on many albinos, they end up, you know, they have these whites in between, right? And that eventually fades to a two-toned kind of yellow, or maybe sometimes some oranges in there, right? But it really does fade, and it kind of washes itself out, so the contrast isn't quite there because you've got a different tone of yellow on top of another tone of yellow, so it's not quite as good of a contrast. But with lavender, these whites always appear to be a little bit stronger, and when they do start to kind of bleed, they become lavender. Well, that's by the name of it, right? They become more of a lavender. So the contrast is now between a yellow or an orange to a lavender. So that's a much better contrast than two shades of the same color. The where you get the Holy Grail is when you add pied on top of all of that. So the Holy Grail of snakes, right, is the kind of the morph name right there. So this project right here would be great for creating that. And I'll look up a picture of the Holy Grail here in just a second as well. But that would be, 24 hours left and this much money. I didn't even know that this was a yellow belly lavender, so it's visual for lavender as well. Obviously, when you go head to head, that's never the greatest, but you have a higher chance on lavender with having a visual male right off the bat. Your odds of hitting something are very good. I wonder what the odds. I'm curious about that. What the odds of being of getting a Holy Grail on this would be. I'm gonna find out. Got a little bit of time because this one's gonna be a shorter live today, anyways. Let's see here. All right, so we have a visual lavender albino. And it is het. We're going to leave the yellow belly out just to make it easy, by the way. Het for clown. And it is het for pied. Alright, there we go. And then we have a triple het. So het clown, het pied, and het lavender. Alright, let's take a look here. You have a 1 in 32 chance of hitting the Holy Grail. Not the greatest of odds, but, much better than the lottery, that's for sure. But let's look at this right here. The odds of hitting some of these visuals is pretty extensive, right? Now, going head to head on some of those, when you don't hit a visual, it's going to be 66% het, except for the lavender in this case, because you have a visual one, so it will always be that. So tied for a visual lavender, ironically, is the het lavender, and then possible 66% het for both clown and pied, and then the other greatest odd would be the visual with those two as well. Same odds, obviously. It's always going to be 66% het. Then if you combine all of these right here, all these visual examples, your odds of getting a visual example of something are the most common thing. You're very likely going to hit a double, at least one, I would say, double recessive of some sort. Most likely with lavender, obviously. So still not a bad pairing at all. And the good thing about that is that you find one of these, you hold them back and you have them tested for the one you didn't hit, and then you keep going, you keep plugging away. Hopefully you get a male and increase your odds much quicker at that. So that's kind of how you would work projects like that and stuff. So keeping it into the that sort of vein, especially since I thought that this was just a a grail, would be this spot nose clown that's also het for lavender albino. This female here, though. So that is still like I said, I showed it right here. That's still a very viable project. Absolutely gorgeous, with lots of upside on it. And there's about 2 days left and no bids on this one. I don't know when they set their auction to go live, but this would be a nice one. So, alrighty, let me look up the. I'll just use this page to look it up. Holy Grail ball python. Here's one right here. It's a good one too. But that would be the Holy Grail right there. And as you can see, this one had some size to it at 400 grams, and it still looked this good with great contrast. And you can kind of see it starting to come in, what I was talking about there. They do change, right, from that white that we saw. Where was it? Oh, I changed the page, of course. But it was just, you know, obviously the whites from the pied still stay there, which is why it helps it even more. But you're going to get lavenders coming in to these right here, into these the what was white when they first were born. So that's going to contrast a lot better than an albino version. It's actually a regular albino. So, like I said, the Grail Project's a really good one to work. And I don't see enough people, quite frankly, into it. You know, everybody always talked about the Dreamsicle for so long, but the Grail just seemed to kind of go by the wayside. So, E.W. Wilson looking to rehome 2 bull pythons. Living situation changed. I wouldn't be interested myself. If you I mean, I suppose if you wanted to join our Discord, you could always ask in there. Actually, I don't think we've linked that yet. And how are you, Straight Blast Pythons? Good evening to you. About halfway through. Like I said, this is going to be a bit of a shorter one. Alright. So next up would be this GHI Hurricane Lesser Leopard Clown. And there's a lot going on here. I like when, personally, I totally understand and believe that reserves need to be in place to, you know, as an option for sellers to protect their bottom line. But personally, to me, if you have a hard, this is just my personal opinion, if you have a hard bottom line and you don't want to accept any less than it, why not just start your bid there? And that is precisely what has happened here. They don't want to sell it for less than $600, so they started it at $600 rather than letting it, you know, start at $0 with a $600 reserve that no one knows about. So that's always an option that you can do too if you are selling online. But this one has a lot going for it. Another pretty good male here. I love the GHI gene, and I guess I'm a little surprised by how lavender this one looks. Maybe I shouldn't be. That's the lesser. Yeah, I shouldn't be. But it's very interesting how some people can get lesser to work for them in different ways. Because lesser can sometimes be pretty strong, quite frankly. Especially, you know, obviously you can't go against other blue-eyed Lucies because, well, you're going to create an all-white snake with blue eyes. And while that is a fantastic snake, it would not serve you very well when you're trying to hit visual clowns and all sorts of things like this. It would just cover it all up. So GHI is one of my favorite genes. Stands for gotta have it for a reason. Hurricane is very interesting in clown, what it does. You know, clown is known for messing up the face and it strips the eye stripes. Well, Hurricane seems to put them back, but not quite the same. They're all weird and, you know, they break up and they're way thicker. You can kind of see it right here. It's very interesting because I don't think there's any others that do that really, right? It's you know, and almost every one of them I've seen of Hurricane clowns, they're exactly like that. Lesser obviously kind of brings in this snake at least brings in some of these, like what I'm seeing is a purple, kind of like a lavenderish type plum type color kind of coming through there, which is really fascinating. And then leopard, of course, is going to tag team with that Hurricane gene to just completely change everything about what the sides of a ball python normally look like. Instead, you get these crazy cool archways, which are filled with where the shading of the snake, you know, would normally come up in between the pattern. Just the whole thing is just shaded in it, which is really nice and cool. Tells me that it's actually stretching the pattern up around it, so that's really cool. Very cool animal. If this is the sort of, if you were looking for a male, the only downside that I can say to an animal like this is what I already mentioned, is the lesser being in the male means that it's gonna, you know, you're gonna pass it on more often, and that's not a bad thing. I love lesser, and I love lesser clowns. One of the coolest combos out there. It's just, again, what I mentioned is that if you've got a blue-eyed Lucy and a female, you might want to think twice before pairing an animal like this to it. because again, if you get that all white snake with blue eyes that just so happens to have a treasure trove of genetics hidden underneath, that's kind of a heartbreaker in that case. So something to think about, but still a really cool and powerful snake in of itself. So, all right, I'm gonna take a quick break from bull pythons, just a very, very quick one, to talk about the hognoses. As you know, we are starting to breed them here, so I include them. There's not a whole bunch ever on auction, usually about half a page, quite frankly, to a page. But there are a couple I kind of wanted to mention here. Starting off with one of my favorites. It would be this Arctic, well, it's a sunburst, but it also is Arctic. Arctic brings in more frosting type colors, kind of like fire, in my opinion. It kind of works like fire, if I had to compare it to something in ball pythons. But sunburst creates this. It's one of the coolest vibrant oranges and if just without the Arctic, sometimes even reds, quite frankly, that you can find in a snake. Obviously with the iconic red eyes of an albino, but the sunburst is a combination of albino and sable, and sable is kind of known as more dark morph. Sometimes it even brings in colors closely related or somewhat related to their cousins, the eastern hognose snakes, which are really cool, but don't make the most fantastic pets. They are, if we think western hognoses are dramatic, easterns are way dramatic. So they pretty much always pretend to die, and they don't do quite as well in captivity. That's why westerns are easily the most popular of all the hognoses, followed by a few of the suborders like the tricolors. Tricolors would be amazing, quite frankly, if they would just, live quite a bit longer. Unfortunately, they're probably one of the shorter lived snakes out there, like 7 to 8 years, I think, is what I had heard. So they're not all the same. Just remember that hognoses are not all the same as you're looking at them. Just make sure it says western hognose if that's what you're trying to do there. So one more though I wanted to talk about. It's a pet only. This might be the opportunity to get the cheapest leucistic out there. You can kind of see why it's classified as pet only. Normally the size of eyes are not too much to consider, I would say, but this one is has I think maybe a little more. Let's see, this came from pairing, had a few disformed babies in the pairing as well, so that's probably the main reason why. Some have thrived, like this guy, others have sadly passed. Pairing will not be repeated due to this, so it could be something just that parents, just genetics did not mesh well. Sometimes that can happen, quite frankly. Sometimes genetics just don't mesh well, even though they would, the same genetics and a different parents or lineage or bloodline are fine, and just sometimes that can happen. And sometimes it can just be if it was a first time thing. It just can be something that happened. It could be something in the incubator, but as you can see in this case, there's a very teeny little eye right there. This is an all white hognose, and the leucistics are still very expensive. So something to consider, but I think that, oh, wait a second. So just one of its eyes are small. That's very interesting. Wow. I didn't see that at first. I just saw the one eye, so I decided I wanted to talk about it. So, yeah, it's a unique animal, and it looks like it's doing well. It's got an okay amount of size for it for a hognose. This is the sort of thing that you get, and you keep it as a cool little pet, right? It's probably not the best idea to breed this. Someone might get the idea to do so, but you'd be playing with fire, quite frankly, because you could be, they straight up said some of the other babies just did not do well. So this could be something genetically wrong with that pairing. And while this one will do fine for you, if it bred, it might pass that along, and you might get more than just some goofy eyes. So still a really cool animal. I think somebody, it mentioned something about social media famous. This is the kind of animal that can do that, where you kind of make them a mascot, right? So if you're a hognose breeder, this is going to be the cheapest leucistic I think that you'll probably see out there. So definitely a cool one. All right, moving back into ball pythons. I think this is the one you used for the thumbnail. Would be this banana, fire, asphalt, gravel. So it's also bright. So I missed that one. So and it might be fire apparently. Not showing it down here though. Maybe fire and bright are the same, and that's why that's the case. I think they are. Yeah, now I'm thinking about it. They might be the same, or they do the same thing. So that said, I wanted to include this because most of the time when you see an animal like this, people are talking about the yellow belly, which is the freeway. And you get the banana in there too. It's always an amazing snake. But I wanted to go off topic and, or not go off topic, but go into a different avenue and talk about the other genetics in the yellow belly complex that don't, quite frankly, get talked about enough. And gravel is one of those. And they make cool combos. Almost all, in fact, I do believe all of the yellow belly complex of genes mesh well together. They always create some absolutely amazing animals. It's something to be said that everybody just kind of just goes straight for those freeways, and that's cool. But don't let that limit you in what you can see in the rest of that complex. You know, obviously the highways, yes, are very similar. So, you know, if you're not wanting to work both of those genes, but take a look at some of the supers, and we all know about the ivory. It's the super yellow belly, which is an all white, mostly all white snake. But the super asphalts, like I said, take a look at some of the combos that I believe the super sparks and stuff like that. There's a lot to be said about the other genetics. And what you can work in there, and they sometimes go underappreciated, you know, just because everybody just goes for the freeway and highway. Sometimes the super asphalt, I've noticed, you know, people kind of do pay attention to that one too, especially because of the power that those have. Being that you can always determine that you have an asphalt when you breed a super asphalt. The reason I mention this is because a lot of these genes look exactly the same. they just do. Asphalt and yellow belly look precisely the same, and outside of a genetic test, there's no real way to tell. I've heard tell of some people say that they can tell it, like oh yeah, I can tell because of this. I don't know how true that is. I mean, I'll let them explain that if they wanted to, but in general, there's a reason why you see a lot of things marked as yellow belly or asphalt, and it's the same thing with a lot of these other genetics like gravel too. So still a really cool animal, and if you wanted to work some of these projects, this boy would work for that. There's no doubt about that. They are allelic, by the way, gravel, asphalt, all of these combos. They will always pass on one copy of those genes. So definitely something to consider. It kind of acts like a recessive or a super in that regard, because you're never going to get a normal. You're always going to know it comes from one of those. So, in fact, let me show you kind of a pairing, because it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because if you have a gravel asphalt, like I said, you're always going to get an asphalt or a gravel because they're allelic. But if you notice here, unlike with other genetics that are different technically from each other, you could technically reproduce the same snake. Like I've got a combo I always love making from my bamboo boy. He's a bamboo lemon blast. I love making bamboo lemon blast. It's one of my just snakes that I kind of like to create. They're not crazy expensive. They're cool. I love bamboo. It's my favorite blue-eyed Lucy gene. And he can reproduce himself. In fact, he has incredible luck at reproducing himself. I've created so many bamboo lemon blasts from that dude. It's crazy. I don't know. Yeah, he's just super lucky. This can't reproduce itself. Not without help. So what we would need is either gravel or asphalt. And then we could get super gravels. 25, your odds go to 25% for each one. You're either going to get one of the two just by itself, you get a super gravel, or you're going to get the same exact snake. So just consider if you were going to get into the highway or freeway or yellow belly complex type of genes as a kind of a project to work, because those are really good ones, especially if you're doing a non-recessive project. Or guess what? You can combine those with some recessives. They go well with clown. But if you're going to work that, just it's something to consider. You can't just reproduce it by itself. You need another one of the genes in there. And one other way you could do that is to mess with something like yellow belly, right? And again, you can make these more complex, right? But then you're talking about creating the freeways. You're talking about creating other types of morphs. So maybe you put this one to a freeway, and then you could get super asphalts, right? As well. So now you're talking about a freeway to this. You're never not going to get a yellow belly complex combo of some sort. So just some thoughts on, it is a recessive game. You've probably been told everyone always talks about recessives, but why, right? It is. It just is. That's the market, and it's probably due to demand and the fact that they're harder to create. But there is something to be said about allelics and supers. They definitely have a place. Some of these combos are just going to always stand the test of time. So, all right, now I'm done with my little rant. We'll go ahead and move on to this. This is not a combo, by the way. You see 4 snakes. This is done uniquely. I see a few of these occasionally, but it is a winner choose one. There are 4 females, I think. It actually says 0.0.4. Maybe I'm missing something. I know what 0. With those, usually the first number is for males, second number is for females. I don't know if they're unsexed, and maybe that's what it is. But being triple hets, that is still saying something for the power. So you'd probably just say, hey, I want a female in that case, especially for a triple het. I would want a female, for sure. Grow that up and have fun with that, because the Desert Ghost Ultramel clowns, those are gonna look great. I've seen a clown Ultramel Pied. It was one of the best looking snakes I've ever seen. And that's coming from a Monarch guy. So I got nothing against Ultramel. I actually love Ultramel. But it was an amazing snake. Anytime I see something with Ultramel, honestly, I love it, because I'm just like, now what would it look like with Monarch? So I never get into the it's usually in fun, but the goofy versus game between the two of them. But this would be an incredible one. These would go great. Desert Ghost clowns are amazing. Desert Ghost. What did I click? Yeah, Desert Ghost Ultramels. I mean, obviously makes the colors pop. Those would go great together. On top of all that, you do have the pastel in there, which does pair well with Desert Ghost. They make a good looking snake. Pastel looks good with Desert Ghost, and it's super inchy. I'm assuming they're these ones are all super inchy that they picked out. Definitely the heads on a few of these definitely say yes to me. But the super inchy will always pass on from these, so you will always have inchies. And in this combo specifically, I would like that, no doubt. It would definitely pop, and it would go very well with it. It probably will go cheap. I think that this will go favorably. So a cool potential for a triple head. I think for a good amount, quite frankly. I think it'll be a decent amount. So let me jump in the comments here. I said this one's going fast. We're actually on to, I think, our final 4. Like I said, this one's not going to be a long one. There's not as many. It's only 5 this week. Hi, Desert Pythons. What is up? How are you today? North Country. What are we doing here tonight? Oh, we're looking over the auctions right now. Just some of the top auctions going through. I think I picked out 10 or 15 of them or so. That's basically what we go through. And then as people ask questions, I am very easy to distract. And we'll kind of go off topic and talk about whatever. So, hey, Jay Slithers, how are you? Morbid Morphs, what is happening? But, yeah, just final thoughts on this one. Especially if you can get a female out of this, I think that would be a really good way if that's the sort of project you wanted to work. So, all right, another one up here. A couple days left, but a good amount of potential, especially being in a female right here. I think that this could go for a very favorable price. It's a black pastel spot nose, yellow belly, 100% hit clown, female at that. So yeah, and I think you already know where I'm going with this, and that would be the fact that you can, when you shoot for Pompeys, you usually, whether you hit the Pompey or not, land in good territory. They make good snakes even when you don't hit the Pompey. They look beautiful. So you get yourself a visual male, preferably, obviously having the one missing gene being the red stripe. But it is pretty fascinating, right, when you think about it, that this is missing red stripe and it's not a visual clown, and that this is what a Pompey looks like. So you're missing technically two genetics, one extra copy of clown and red stripe, and that's the drastic difference. So I always love showing the differences on just what genetics do. The craziness that and oh, oops. I'm gonna see your background. I think they did. I use my brother's computer, so if you saw the commie wolf, it's his. Where the heck did it go? There it is. That's what I'm trying to do. Side by side. It's fascinating to me. I've always been fascinated with this. I mean, from a scientific level, it just seems overwhelming to think about how genetics work the way they work. And sometimes that's okay, just to be fascinated, but to just understand how they work in terms of how a breeder looks at them. And that's how I've decided to try to understand them, but I'm still fascinated that two little things create something so massive. So, should I pick up some DG from high desert pythons? I mean, yeah, you absolutely should. Alrighty. Moving along, I had to include this one because I don't see JSA putting a lot up there. Plus, it is I wouldn't say it's a proven breeder. It doesn't say proven, but it is of breeding size by a good amount, and it is 66% het clown, 66% het genetic stripe. Which, if those are visual, if you get visual versions of a genetic stripe clown, that's called the Kiki clown. And then it is super inchy orange dream. So it looks great at this size, quite frankly. Just kind of goes to show how inchy and OD just work super well together. Yellow belly also, you see those often paired together. And the Kiki clown is, in my opinion, pretty underrated. There's a lot to be said about it. Genetic stripe in general, I think, is pretty underrated. Let me look it up here real quick. Kiki clown. Why do I do this to myself? I did it again. So I often on these lives will just type things without typing ball python after them, and that's what I get for doing that. The gummy bear, apparently. Yeah, Kiki clown gummy bear, whatever the heck that is. All right, so here's a really good example of one, and from the man himself, Ozzy Boyd. Just goes to show you that this is not something that should be slept on. It does have a little bit more to it. It's orange dream, lesser banana, but you got orange dream in this, and you get inchy, which is going to make that pattern even a little bit more special. So really cool project, I think. If you can, and you can send these in for shed tests, by the way. I think that with a 66% het, you have a good chance of either improvement. I'm actually surprised that JSA didn't, but they probably just don't need an animal like this anymore because they're creating so many visuals at this point. So it's just one of those matters of just kind of moving on to make up rack space for animals that are visual at this point. So good opportunity, and again, you can send in for a shed test. And if you do both of them, if you were to win this one, you can actually take advantage of our code, which is code Rhyno with RGI, and you get one of them for free. So the way you work that is just in the comments when you're building it, is you put code Rhyno. I'd also like to test for the other one that you did not buy it for. So, and it's simple as that. So A cool opportunity here to get something immediate. Now, obviously, as a big, if you're pretty established, if you are getting to the point where you're getting established as a breeder, not all of these pertain to you, right? But I think that proven breeders are a great opportunity given the right situation, regardless, because sometimes obviously they can be picked up by somebody and slotted into a project very nicely, but sometimes it can be for someone who has kept bull pythons for a while, knows how to keep them, and would like to breed, but doesn't know if doesn't have the confidence or the skill set yet, they think, to do it. So you might think, like, obviously jumping into proven breeder would be a bad thing, but in this day and age, I think it's a good thing. When I was buying proven breeders just 6-7 years ago, they were a lot. They are not as much anymore. I mean, this is 48 hours or so, a couple days, just under a couple days left, and it's $55. It will go up, but I think it will still be a very favorable price, and you can buy an animal like this, breed kind of for a lesser amount, and breed right away to gain that confidence before you make heavy investments, right? So, I mean, I've seen it happen. It's not all too common, but I've seen it happen where somebody buys very expensive snakes, gets to the 3-year mark. Guess what? You're waiting 3 years roughly, at least for a female. Sometimes you get lucky, but and then they get there and then they determine that that's maybe not something that they want to do after putting in everything. So, just a thought process. If you get a proven breeder, you can get that experience under your belt quicker, and then you have built yourself a skill set and basically confirm to yourself that you can do this, and then you can then, with confidence, invest in these animals and grow them up and breed them. So just something to think about, and it is a beautiful example. Which I wouldn't expect anything less from JSA. So, Sean, hey, what's up, man? I'm gonna be putting a 700-gram female stranger Batman and a female breeder sunset up. Just want to give everyone a heads up. Wow, that's some heavy hitting stuff. Well, you heard it here. That's obviously we'll still do our if it's on for the weekend, we'll probably catch it there, because we do we film on Thursday nights, but it's a filmed one that we upload edited, so I'll keep an eye out for that one, no doubt. So that's pretty sweet. That's awesome. Do not see proven breeder female sunsets, or not. I wouldn't say you said female breeder. I'm assuming it's proven, or at least of size, obviously. Hey, Picture Perfect Pythons, how are you? Alright, let's go ahead and move to our next one here, and that would be this puzzle, Yellow Belly Het Desert Ghost. No reserve on this, but as you can see, it has already climbed to a healthy amount. Puzzle obviously is an incredible genetic. I'm so happy that we got in on it, and obviously I've talked about it before, but my luck with puzzle, I've heard people say that they eat very well and they get the size. I can say that my experience for the one that I got from KDF has been nothing but glowing. It's a beautiful animal. It aged beautifully, and it 2 years and I got eggs, and I didn't even mean to. It was insane, and they are double het per monarch and puzzle. So pumped about that. They got cinnamon floating around in there, and the Het Daddy, otherwise what I like to call it is the Weirdo Gene. I think they are going to be proven the same. Could be wrong, but I like calling it Weirdo. I don't know. When I say Het Daddy, I feel wrong. This one, it was actually from Hulker's Herps. It looks like they are just moving on from it. It does not show a size, but and then the pictures don't show contrast to show the size or anything like that. But this is really cool. The puzzle in general is an incredibly cool project. You can see just what it does to the sides, and what it's named for is the fact that it looks like a bunch of little puzzle pieces that can be put together. Like here, almost looks like they kind of go together. But that's kind of the nickname where it comes from. Being Het Desert Ghost gives it obviously so much more potential right there to hit the to play around with that sort of genetic diversity. So often what I'll say is if you're trying to save a little bit of money, you kind of work them against each other, right? Get yourself a visual Desert Ghost that's Het for puzzle and kind of go that way. Of course, you could always get the extra visuals, but then you're going to be paying more for that. And I don't know about the availability, quite frankly, of those. They might not be readily available. So sometimes working against each other, which means the benefit of working against them is that you'll always have double hets minimum. So you can never not get a het or it's visual, one of the two. And I believe you'll have 1 in 4 odds of every result. So either double het, puzzle het DG het puzzle, or a double visual. And that's beneficial for so many reasons, because all your questions are answered. You don't have to guess, and you don't have to do genetic testing on it to determine it either, or breed them out. What we used to have to do is raise them up and guess, which that would be heartbreaking when you raise a snake for 3 years and determine, well, better luck next time. Has yellow belly already playing around in there, so immediately I don't know if what that would do to the pattern, but obviously I thought right off the bat was an asphalt to put to that to create the freeway. I don't know if that would make a visual difference because of what puzzle does, but it would be very interesting. Regardless, in a female, this would be a good pickup for a puzzle project. I think so. Hey, Carter, we missed you. Carter's Coils, we missed you this weekend. I think you said you're going to be at Crown Point, though. Not this weekend, but the next one. So we will catch you there. Alrighty, and for our last one would be this ODYB Enchi Leopard Pied Het Clown, also a female. The ODYB stands for Orange Dream Yellow Belly, if you did not know. They love making this combo look like that because it looks good. So ODYB, whenever you get them together, they're almost always going to be advertised like that. And then I'm surprised, quite frankly, that the Enchi here does not bring in more pattern onto this animal. But it looks like this was the sire, or one of the parents was from Aussie, which would explain why it's so darn orange. Yes, I committed to her. Oh, I don't know why. I thought you were talking about this animal. Like I'm committed to getting it. But now I know what you're saying to the show. Okay. I don't know why I was just like, oh, you're in on this? Cool. But obviously the clown pieds, they're not as crazy as they were just even 5 years ago in price, but who cares? There's still so much beautiful examples of things you can create. And a 2 recessive combo that's so that's more prevalent, that you can get a lot of visual examples for right now. It kind of makes sense that they would come back down to earth in pricing, and that's what you're seeing with the Dreamsicles. That's what you're seeing with the Clown Pieds. When I first got into it, I had bought breeder ready pied head albinos, and then also got a Candino het pied, and I kind of played against each other. It cost me a pretty penny. Like I said, breeders were not cheap once, but it obviously they used to get a lot of money, and I still create them to this day. I created them when they made a lot of money and made my money back and then some, and now I still create them to this day. And that's no different for this too. Creating clown pieds that are awesome is still a very valid thing, and the pricing, like being lower on some of these, is an opportunity. That's the way I view it for a lot of people to get into this stuff. And anytime, that's the reason why we cover the auctions, quite frankly, is to try to highlight some of these opportunities for people. So again, just like I mentioned with the other one, if you want to save a little bit of money, you run a clown het pied to this boy, but you might as well just add a lot of cool extra additions to the genetic pool in there. But I would actually say, doing these auctions, I can tell you right now that clown pied males, they're very reasonable. So in this case, why not get a visual? Increase your odds a lot, quite frankly. You'll always, in this particular pairing, have pieds. And with this genetic diversity, creating these pieds will be very nice. And when you hit the clown 50% of the time, in that case, they'll be even better. Immediately, with the yellow belly and the Enchi and everything there, now I am thinking asphalt to create one of the cooler clown pied freeways that you can easily make. So this one from Newsman is a good opportunity, I think. Again, with just 2 days left, the price will climb, but I definitely don't think it's a bank breaker by any means. So hey there, Sarah. Type away. I think we linked the Discord. You join there. Occasionally we do jump in there and talk, and we just like creating a community of people that can talk to each other and help each other out and everything like that. Couple things that about the lives. I think we'll still have one on next Tuesday, but I'm not 100% certain. But after that, we're going to change the format up a little bit. We're going to move them to Thursdays, roughly the same exact time, and it's going to be every other week. So what it'll be is every other week we'll have a live, and then the other time, Thursday, it won't be a live. It'll just go up on Friday like I normally do. And in those cases, obviously, we won't have a video out. And when they're live anyways, we won't have the video out on Friday because it'll be up as a VOD. I guess is what you call it, right? No, it's not a VOD.
Yeah, it is.
No, it is? Okay, whatever. He knows these terms. I don't. But they will, you can watch it then if you didn't get to watch it live. But this will allow us to have more time to commit to the actual snakes physically themselves, because we're kind of running ragged there, and then also to commit to making the video content themselves, like actual planned videos like we do for our normal content on Sundays and such like that. So we're thinking and playing around with, if we spend an hour and a half on an auction video, we could film a video during that time. Maybe a shorter one, but we can film a video. So that's kind of our thought process on it. So we don't know what we'll do with the time we gain, but we will do something with it. But that's just the only change. But I don't know if it'll be immediate. So I don't know if this will be the last Tuesday live, or if that will take place after next week. And like I said, it'll just move to Thursdays and every other week. That said, I'm not against the idea of doing a different kind of live occasionally as well. But it would be occasionally. And what I mean by that is just we wouldn't do the auctions. Maybe we do something else, but we're trying to think about that. And if anybody's got any ideas, just obviously let us know. Same thing with Discords. Comment, say it here in the chat right here. So try not to be turdy. no biggie. So like I said, everybody has stuff to do. We just kind of go live when we can, usually between no earlier than 6:30 and try to be no later than 7:30 is when we try to go live, and ideally right around that 7 o'clock mark. But there's always stuff happening, and it just makes it difficult to commit to a live time for ourselves on that particular day, unless I pull some strings. So but yeah, with that said, I think we'll go ahead and leave it there. Again, thank you everybody for joining. And we will see you in the next one. Have a good night, everybody.